Imagine this. What if you had everything you needed to be happy, but decided to throw it all away in search of something better? Sounds crazy, right? But it happens all the time. Now, here's the question. What would you do if you got a second chance, even after wasting everything? Today, we're telling the story of someone who did exactly that. He had it all, lost it all, and when he thought there was no way back, he discovered something far greater than he ever imagined. And the most interesting part? This story might just be yours too. Stick around until the end, and you'll understand what's really at stake when it comes to choices, regret, and the chance to start over. Alright, let's dive right into it. Picture this. A young man, restless and full of ambition, approaches his father one day with a bold request. "Father, give me my share of the inheritance now." It's a shocking moment. Normally, an inheritance is something you receive after your father passes away. But this son wants his now. He's basically saying, "I can't wait for you to die. I want what's mine, and I want it today." Can you imagine? The audacity, the impatience, the eagerness to break free and live life on his own terms. He's not thinking about family or responsibilities. He's thinking about freedom, about leaving behind everything he knows and going off to live however he pleases. And what's even more surprising, the father, instead of getting angry or refusing, actually grants his wish. He divides his property and gives the younger son his share, letting him go off into the world with a pocket full of wealth and dreams of independence. You can almost feel the tension building. This young man is about to embark on a journey, one that's going to take him far from home, far from the safety of his father's house, and into a world where things aren't as simple as he thinks. It's a bold choice, but one that will lead to unexpected consequences. And this is just the beginning of his story. So, with his newfound wealth, the young man leaves home. You can almost see the excitement in his eyes as he steps into this new life. No rules, no responsibilities, just freedom. He travels to a far-off land, as far from his father's house as he can get, eager to enjoy everything the world has to offer. And at first, life is good. He spends his money freely, indulging in every pleasure he can find. Fancy clothes, wild parties, friends who flock to him because of his wealth. He's living the high life. Every day is a celebration, and he feels like he's on top of the world. But, as you can guess, that kind of life doesn't last forever. The money, it runs out. His so-called friends, they vanish as soon as the last coin is spent. And suddenly, that far-off land doesn't seem so welcoming anymore. To make things worse, a famine hits the land. With no money and no one to turn to, he's left completely alone, hungry, and desperate. This wasn't the freedom he imagined. He thought he could have it all, live without consequences, without limits. But now he's discovering the hard truth. His choices have caught up with him. The riches are gone, the fun is over, and reality is hitting him harder than he ever expected. And the worst part? He's far, far away from home. The journey that once seemed so exciting now feels like a trap. The young man is lost, both literally and figuratively. And this is where his story starts to take a turn. Now here he is, rock bottom, with no money, no friends, and a famine sweeping the land. The young man is desperate. He's not just broke, he's starving. In a land far from home, the reality of his choices comes crashing down on him. Desperate for work, he manages to find a job. A job that no one would want, especially for someone like him. He's sent to the fields to feed pigs. Now, for a young Jewish man, this is about as low as it gets. Pigs are considered unclean, and here he is not just working with them, but envying them. Envying pigs. Can you imagine? As he watches the pigs eat their slop, he feels a deep hunger in his belly, and even deeper, a hunger in his soul. He's so desperate that he wishes he could eat the food the pigs are eating. But no one gives him anything. He's all alone, in a foreign land with nothing left. This is the moment when he realizes the full weight of his decisions. The wealth, the freedom, the life he thought he wanted. It's all gone. He's lost everything, and now he's lost himself. But in this moment of despair, something begins to stir inside him. A thought, simple but powerful. Even my father's servants have food to eat, and here I am, starving. It's the first sign of hope, a flicker of recognition that maybe, just maybe, there's a way back. And so he starts to think about home, about the place he left behind, the father he abandoned. He knows he doesn't deserve to go back as a son, but maybe, just maybe, he could return as a servant. Anything would be better than this. This is the beginning of his turning point. Sitting there in the dirt, surrounded by pigs, the young man's mind is racing. He knows what he has to do. He's going to go back home, but not as the son who left with pride and wealth. No, that's long gone. He's going to return with humility, willing to be nothing more than a servant in his father's house. You can imagine the weight of this decision. He's rehearsing what he'll say in his head, over and over. Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. It's a long way from the confident, reckless young man who demanded his inheritance. Now he's broken, full of regret, and ready to beg for a second chance. And so he stands up, probably still weak from hunger, and begins the long journey back home. Every step must feel heavier than the last. What if his father rejects him? What if there's no forgiveness waiting for him? But despite the doubts, he keeps moving, driven by the hope that maybe, just maybe, his father will let him return, even as a servant. It's a hard road back, both physically and emotionally. He knows he's not entitled to anything anymore. He gave that up when he left, and he's prepared for the worst. But even in his shame, there's a glimmer of hope. A hope that his father's love might be stronger than the mistakes he's made. And so, he walks back toward home, back toward the father he abandoned, hoping for a second chance but expecting nothing more than mercy. What he doesn't realize is that the reunion waiting for him is far beyond anything he could have imagined. As the young man makes his way home, probably rehearsing his apology with every step, something incredible happens. His father sees him from a distance. Now think about that for a second. The father isn't just going about his daily routine. He's been watching, waiting. Maybe every day since his son left, he's been looking down that road, hoping to see him return. And today he does. His son, looking ragged, broken, and nothing like the boy who left, is finally coming home. And what does the father do? Does he stand there waiting for his son to come to him? Does he cross his arms, ready to lecture him for all his mistakes? No. The father does something that no one would expect, especially in that culture. He runs. That's right. This dignified, wealthy man runs down the road to meet his son. In those days, a man of his status didn't run. It was considered undignified. But none of that matters to the father. His love for his son outweighs any concern for appearances. He's not thinking about pride or dignity. He's thinking about one thing. His son is coming home. Before the young man can even finish his rehearsed apology, before he can say, "Father, I have sinned," the father throws his arms around him, hugging him, kissing him, and welcoming him back. The son barely gets out a few words of his apology, but it doesn't matter. The father's heart is already full of joy. It's not about punishment or shame. It's about forgiveness. It's about love so deep that it doesn't hesitate to forgive, doesn't hesitate to run toward the one who was lost and is now found. The son thought he'd come back to beg for a place as a servant, but what he finds waiting for him is something far greater, his father's unconditional love. And this is just the beginning of the celebration. Before the son can even process what's happening, the father is already calling out to his servants. "Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet." Now think about this for a second. The best robe? The father isn't just welcoming him back. He's restoring him to the status of a son, not a servant. That robe represents honor, the ring represents authority, and the sandals? Well, in those days, servants didn't wear shoes, but sons did. The father is making it clear. His son is fully restored. And then the father takes it even further. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. The fattened calf wasn't something you just killed for any meal. This was reserved for the most special occasions, and nothing could be more special than this. His son, the one who was lost, is home. The one who was dead, in a sense, has come back to life. The son, who had rehearsed his speech of apology and was prepared to beg for a place as a servant, is now being treated like a prince. No lecture, no punishment, just forgiveness, love, and a celebration. Can you imagine the shock on the young man's face? He came back expecting judgment, and instead he's met with a party. The father's joy is overwhelming, and he wants everyone to join in the celebration. The music starts, the food is prepared, and the house is filled with laughter and dancing. The son thought he had lost everything, but in that moment, he realizes that his father's love was never something he could lose. But while the celebration is in full swing, there's someone else who's not so happy about all of this. While the music plays and the celebration roars inside, outside, the older son is returning from the fields. As he gets closer to the house, he can hear the sounds of a party. Laughter, music, joy filling the air. But something feels off. He wasn't expecting any kind of celebration. So, he stops one of the servants and asks, "What's going on?" And then the bombshell drops. The servant replies, "Your brother has come home, and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound." You can almost see the older son's face twist in frustration. His brother, the one who squandered everything, the one who left them to carry on without him. And now there's a feast for him? The fattened calf, reserved for the most special occasions. Wasn't for a loyal servant or the hard work he had been doing, but for that brother, who threw everything away. Furious, the older son refuses to go inside. He's not joining this celebration. How could he? After all these years of loyalty, after all the work he's done for the family, his father never even threw him a small party. And now his brother comes crawling back after ruining everything, and the whole house is celebrating? The older son feels like he's the one being cheated. He's the one who stayed, worked hard, did everything right. He's been loyal, obedient, and what did it get him? Nothing. No celebration. No feast. Just the daily grind while his brother ran off and lived a reckless life. The older son stands outside, refusing to join the party, boiling with resentment. And what he doesn't yet realize is that the story isn't just about his brother's return. It's about his own heart. And soon, his father is going to come looking for him, too. Seeing that his older son is missing from the celebration, the father steps outside to find him. He doesn't stay inside, content with just one son's return. He goes out to meet the other, and when he finds him, he doesn't get angry or demand that he join the party. Instead, he pleads with him, gently inviting him in. But the older son, still fuming, pours out all his frustration. "Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him." You can hear the bitterness in his voice. Can't you? For him, it's not just about the party, it's about fairness. He's followed the rules, done everything right, and yet it feels like he's been taken for granted. He can't understand why his father would celebrate the return of someone who wasted everything, while he, the faithful son, was never given any recognition. But the father, still calm, responds with such love. He says, "My son, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours." He's reminding his older son that nothing has been taken from him. His loyalty and hard work haven't gone unnoticed. Everything the father owns has always belonged to him. But then the father says something that changes the whole perspective. "But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." It's not about fairness, it's about grace. It's about celebrating the fact that someone who was lost has come home, that someone who was dead in their choices is now alive again. The father's love is big enough for both sons, the one who stayed and the one who returned. And in this moment, the father invites the older son to see that love, to let go of his resentment and join the celebration, not just for his brother's sake, but for his own. The older son is faced with a choice. Will he stay outside, holding on to his anger and sense of injustice, or will he step inside and join in the joy of restoration and forgiveness? It's a decision that, in the end, says as much about him as it does about his brother. As the father stands there, gently pleading with his older son, the deeper meaning of this moment starts to unfold. This isn't just about a party or even about the return of the younger brother. It's about love and grace that don't play by the rules of fairness or merit. The father is offering something profound. He's inviting both of his sons into a deeper understanding of his heart. To the older son, he's saying, "You've always had my love. Everything I have has been yours all along." But this celebration isn't about what you've done or what your brother has done. It's about the fact that we are family. We're together again. You can almost feel the weight of the father's words hanging in the air. He's not choosing one son over the other. He's not diminishing the older son's loyalty or work. Instead, he's calling him to let go of his need for justice and to embrace the bigger picture: grace. The kind of grace that rejoices when someone who was lost is found, when someone who was broken is restored. The kind of grace that doesn't keep score. And here's the thing, the older son now faces a choice. Does he hold onto his bitterness, his sense of entitlement, or does he step into the joy that's right in front of him? Because the truth is, the celebration isn't just for the younger brother. It's for him too. The father is saying, "Come in. You're part of this family. We celebrate together." It's a powerful moment. A reminder that sometimes we get so caught up in what we think we deserve that we miss the joy of what's being offered. The older son is being invited to join the celebration, to move past his resentment, and to see that his father's love is big enough for both sons. In this story, both sons were lost in their own way, one through rebellion, the other through self-righteousness. But the father's love reaches out to them both, offering the same invitation. Come home, join the family, be part of the joy. And now the question hangs in the air. Will the older son take that step? Will he let go of his need to be right and embrace the grace that's being offered to him? This is where the deeper lesson of the story begins to unfold for all of us. And now, with both sons standing at a crossroads, we see the true heart of this story. It's not just about a wayward son who wasted everything and came crawling back. It's not just about an obedient son who feels overlooked. It's about the father, his love, his grace, and his relentless desire to bring both of his sons back into his arms. The younger son thought he was beyond redemption. He believed that his mistakes had disqualified him from being loved again. But the moment he took a step toward home, he found out that his father's love was waiting for him all along. It wasn't about earning his way back. It was about receiving a grace that was greater than his failures. The older son, on the other hand, thought he had earned everything through his loyalty and hard work. But in his quest for fairness, he missed the bigger picture. That his father's love couldn't be earned. It was already his all along. He had been living in the house, working hard, but he was missing out on the joy, the grace, and the relationship that his father was offering him the whole time. The father wanted both sons to understand something deeper. That love, grace, and forgiveness don't operate on a system of fairness. They flow from the heart, freely given to those who come home, whether they're returning from a distant land or standing right there, feeling unappreciated. The story leaves us with an open question. Will the older son go inside? Will he set aside his anger and join the celebration, realizing that there is enough love and grace for everyone? Or will he stay outside, holding onto his bitterness, missing the joy that his father is so eager to share with him? And here's the thing. We are both sons, aren't we? At different points in our lives, we can be the younger one, running away from the love and grace that's been offered to us, thinking we're unworthy to return. And other times, we're the older one, standing on the sidelines, upset that things didn't turn out the way we thought was fair, missing the bigger picture. But in the end, the father's invitation is the same. Come inside. There's enough grace for everyone. There's enough love to cover all the mistakes, the bitterness, the regret. Come and be part of the celebration. The door is open. The feast is prepared. It's up to us to decide. Will we step in and embrace the grace, or will we stay outside, holding on to the things that keep us from the joy that's waiting for us? The Father's arms are open, and the choice is ours.